Um, so in my previous video, I was taking you guys through my experience in Form 2, in Form 1, and so I moved to Form 2, and in Form 2, my performance, of course, is very good. The teachers are happy with what I'm doing, and I'm also the official. One of the things I usually look forward to ilikuwa siku ya Sato. So Satos were usually the days we would call it the days for rice and beans. If you're in high school, realize that sometimes your appetite would really grow, and especially towards the end of the week when you had not taken rice and beans like for the whole month. And remember, I told you guys in Form 1 that I would usually prefer school than home, because school had more fun things now that I was a library captain. Being a library captain exposed me to books where I would now have time to study. But one thing happened that is so interesting in Form 2. So nikiwa Form 2, there's these students who came to Form 1 and their performance was not good. But they identified me that now I was a top student. They associated themselves with me. So what would happen is that since I was in the library, these students would look for me. Mwingine anaweza nitafuta na maths, mwingine anitafuta na English, mwingine anitafuta na Swahili, whichever subject. And I would help them study end to end, and their grades started improving. Mentorship. So what I didn't know is that kumbe, as I was also mentoring them, I was also mentoring myself. You see what they say when they say that you learn by teaching others. That thing is true. But then nilikuwa na learn sana. So the more I continued to teach them, the more I also continued to learn. And whenever we would close school for end of term and go home, you realize that whenever we opened, I didn't have much as shopping from home. So kenye ilikuwa nafanyika ni tuseme tumefungua, niko kwa dorm, niko kwa room yangu, cubicle yangu. Out of nowhere nashtuka tu, kuna mtu anagonga kwa mlango. So kuangalia mlango, I find that it's this particular student who have been, coaching and mentoring. Guess ameniletea nini? A bar of soap, a loaf of bread, a 50 shilling note. Not that I was coercing them to do so, but they were appreciating the work that I was doing that was helping their studies to grow. So two things are happening here. Nimetoka home, shule imefunguliwa, but I don't have much except the fare that I came with to school. But on the other hand, I didn't come with shopping, but then there are people who are mentoring that are bringing gifts, quote unquote, to bless me. And this really, 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 really encouraged me and made me realize that I was making an impact, positive impact in the life of boys. And funnily enough, some of these kids, they're not kids, of course, nowadays they're men. Some of these men, I still even meet them. I've met quite a number of them in universities. I've met quite a number of them along the university corridors. Nimekutana wengi even in town. Some I've also met just around my estate, and they're doing well. They passed. Some went to France. Some went to China. Some went to prestigious university across the country, and they are very, very successful. So that alone inanipatia a lot of motivation, mazee, that whatever I did way back in high school is actually impacting lives positively. And this is also then my encouragement to other men. You can only rise by holding the hand of your juniors. Actually, if there's one thing that would make me proud as a young man, of course, the other things I've achieved as well in the years to come that I'll explain in my upcoming videos. If there's something that makes me really, really, really feel so proud of myself, is the fact that I made a positive impact in the life of young men in Homa Bay High School, and I'm grateful to that, and they're grateful as well. Fast forward, so my performance, I've told you, is moving very. I think the whole of Form 2 I was number 1 throughout. cut 1, cut 2 mpaka hiyo cut ya mwisho. I was at one time I was position 1 in all the exams, which was very good. So my principal, who then identified my strengths and identified my performance, decided now to be taking the top students for tours. I think that was the most interesting period of my time. Prince alitupeleka, we were taken to Masinde Muliro University. It was my first time to go to Kakamega, my first time to visit a real university. And we had this perception of university as a place of freedom, which of course it is. So we went to most Masinde Muliro in Kakamega. It was so interesting, going to the library, the huge library that time. The year was 2010. I think it had just been launched a few years ago. KU had also launched, I think they are one of the biggest libraries around that time. And that inspired us as young, top students to, perform and work hard so that one day you could come to these universities. Another place tulipelekwa was Narok. It was my first time during this year, 2010, to also cross Kisii and come all the way to, Narok County. We went to Masai Mara, we saw the animals. I'm saying this so that I can encourage you and someone who, is in high school and motivate you that sometimes doing well in your craft, whatever you're doing, pays. It may not pay you directly, but it may also expose you as well. So we for the first time, I got into Masai Mara and I saw plentyfuls of animals. I became a local tourist and I realized that Kenya is actually a very, very, very beautiful country that we need to protect and preserve its natural heritage. So we went to other places, including Litein, Kericho. Our principal really used to work a lot with us, and we are good. And Mr. Andrew Bob, wherever you are, we are really grateful for nurturing us to become, some of the greatest young men who are full of vision under your administration and leadership. And I bet most of you who went to my school as well would agree with me. So Form 2 went that way. Something happens. I told you I was selected as the library captain. So Form 2 is about to end, and then we get into Form 3. Now in Form 3, things start to become a little bit difficult for me. My classwork is beginning to become heavy on me. Reason, I did not identify the reason immediately, but some things happened. From position 1, where I used to be in Form 1 and Form 2, in Form 2 specifically, now starts to deteriorate. Unapata ya kwamba cut inafanywa na kuja mpaka position 3, sometimes nakuja mpaka position 5, sometimes nakuja mpaka hata overall position 6, and this was not good news. And I tried to do my best. What I didn't know that at Form 3 now, the subjects were now changing, because at Form 3 we were now required to change. The nature of subjects were changing, so we were required to also change. In Form 1 and Form 2 we're doing 11. I think Form 3 we're now doing around 7 or 8 of subjects. So we had to drop. So I dropped history, I dropped geography and picked history. But I remember one of my teachers advising me to pick geography because he had known my strengths in geography, being in Form 1 and Form 2 was fairly well. Because a subject like geography, I could get maybe a 90 or an 85 when Form 1, Form 2, and history was somewhere around 70, 80. So what I didn't know that my potential in geography was actually very high. But I went ahead and dropped geography and picked history, which would define, my overall grade finally in Form 4, which is not a good news at all. So my challenge in Form 3 was actually the number of subjects that I was doing. The nature of the subjects. Because now in Form 3, we have Paper 1 and Paper 2. There's Paper 3 practicals are starting to to step in, whereas in Form 1 and Form 2 is just one subject. So this brought a challenge, trying to balance between Paper 1, Paper 2, and Paper 3, and how to answer the questions as well. So I actually grew very slim. I was not eating. My feeding went down. My appetite went down. I was almost spending like almost all my time in my books, which was not healthy at all. I did not used to go out. And in a way, I didn't know that kumbe depression was also setting in. Because you see, you have been used to being top, and now you are being challenged, and you have to challenge yourself as well to remain on top. Yeah, a few people around me realized what was going on, tried to, talk to me and advise me. Hey, what's happening? What's happening with your grades? You're not doing so well. Do you need any kind of assistance? How do we help you? In my heart, I knew what was wrong, but I could not identify it. I knew my grades were not performing well, but I could not really point out what was actually the issue. So I told them, no, everything is fine. I think my grades, I've just been challenged by these subjects. I don't know how to answer paper 3 questions. I don't know how to answer paper 2 questions. Physics is very difficult. Mathematics is deteriorating from 70s and 80s now to 50s. And this was giving me stress. Again, at Form 3, the other students who came in now, they were not performing very well in Form 1 and Form 2. But now Form 3, they are picking up out of nowhere. Somebody just shoots from top 20 to top 3. Somebody just shoots back from, top 20, or in Form 1, Form 2, they're doing their 60s in maths, but now Form 3, they're doing the 80s and 90s and 100s in mathematics. And you're there trying to struggle with them for the top positions with your 54s in mathematics and physics. As long story short, the struggle continued. And to be honest, Form 3 was very difficult for me. And most of it I spent struggling, trying to, make ends, meet, trying to balance, trying to burn out the midnight oil, but none of that yielded. So unfortunately, we closed the school Form 3, still with struggling marks, grades are not good, and now we're going to Form 4. So we closed the holidays and then come home 2012 and open now, 2011 now, open 2012 for my final year for the exams. And when we opened school, before we reported, my dad told me that, this is your final year, go give it your best. I expect the best from you. Opening school, well, nothing much changed, to be honest. But now I dropped some of the duties that I was holding as the library captain, and even official duties not to concentrate on it because this was my final year. I was still being challenged, still, better part of my term 1. Joints zinakuja, joint exams come, and I'm nowhere. Joint, a subject contest like English or maths or agriculture, whatever it is, none. I appeared in almost none. So I went one day and took a walk, along the school pitch one evening, and I told myself I had to define where I wanted to be. At some point, Form 3, I was almost giving up because all I wanted that when I was going through that, period of academic, downturn, is I was thinking, what if I just get a university grade and just forget about the other things of being top or anything? Because this thing is proving difficult. But I didn't yet. So around in Form 2, Form 4 now, around term 1, I take this walk and I start to think about something called it's a way of analyzing your goals. I don't know how to call it, where you analyze your strengths. It's called a SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis. I did my SWOT analysis, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. I can't remember what the last letter stands for. So this is what I did to encourage someone, or to help someone, encourage a sibling or a future, relative who would be in the same situation. And it's still applicable to date. I still use this technique to date. I sat down and realized, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What opportunities do I have? And how can I leverage on the things that I have so far? What can I change? I realized that in as much as I was performing low, I was not performing very poorly in all subjects. It was just a number. Because I realized that my English was actually one of the best in the school. My Swahili was the best, to say, if not so within the county, it was the best. My agriculture was very good. My chemistry was one of the best. The only problem now was coming around maths, physics, and biology paper 3, and partly chemistry paper 3. Those are the things that were not bringing me down. So then later, because I was looking at my performance, I assessed my performance from 4, from 4, from 3, from 2, and these subjects were doing very well. But now, and I had a potential of getting an A in them. Actually, I ended up getting an A in maths, in English, in Swahili. You know, the ones which I've told you my strengths were in. So what I decided to do now was, these subjects where I was weak at, what would I do differently? And I went and I identified some of the top students. Remember those students whom I told you that were not performing very well in Form 1 or Form 2, but now Form 3 they came out of nowhere and now they were rising. I became their friends. And I would never leave them. So every time we were revising, or every time I was free, I was going to their streams and I was sitting down with them. One particular student is called David. Okay, Maze, wherever you are, kudos. That guy helped me a lot in my chemistry paper 3. And I loved chemistry to date. If I had not done IT and campus, I would have ended up doing chemistry. But fortunately enough, I'll tell you one of the innovations, or one of the inventions that I'm working on, that is both in IT and chemistry as well. It's a very interesting one. I'll upload it, I think, soon after this video, and tell you what really happened, what is really happening between chemistry and physics, and how we can use that in the real world to solve some of the problems that we have as the global community. Yeah, so I became their friends and we performed very well. I performed very well finally in the final exams. Whatever I was afraid of eventually did not kill me. I have confronted my fears. And this is how I performed. The top student was had an A-plane of 81. Then there were, I think, 1 or 2, 3 students who had 80 points. Then I had 78 points, which was an A minus. But listen to this. Remember me telling you that one of my teachers advised me to pick geography instead of history because he had known my strengths. You know, had I picked geography, I was going to get an A of 81 and I was going to be the top student, the two of us. This is what happened. The history that I chose, actually, I did not perform well in it. I ended up getting an overall grade B plus. If you know, grading, I don't know if that has changed. Grading in high school, B plus is 10 points, if I'm not wrong. But an A plane is it 12 points? Something there and about. Yeah. So when I did my overall grade rating, I realized that had I done geography, I was actually going to get an A. And on top of the 78 that I had, I was going to have an additional 3 points on top of what I had. And that will take me way in front to 81. And that is how I missed an A-plane just because of wrong choice and failing to listen to my student career advisor, to my teacher student career advisor. So this is also to encourage high school students who are also approaching their final exams, or those who will be there soon, or if you have a sibling who will be doing that. Sometimes you need to sit down with these young people and advise them, the best subjects they need to take, having known their strengths and what they're good at. For me, that happened, and in as much as I got an A of 78, in a way, I still feel that had I taken geography, I would have gotten a straight A plane of 81. But I'm glad I'm still here. I'm still pursuing my vision, my mission, pursuing the things I love, and still changing the community positively. Yeah, so that was my experience in high school. A lot of encouragement. So we realized that Form 1 and Form 2 was not very good up to Form 3, but then even Form 4, I picked up well and I finished. So it doesn't matter how well you begin, it doesn't matter the challenges you go through, always keep your mind, your eye, and your target to the final prize and the final goal, because that is the only way, that's the only thing that will set you give you the prize or give you the goal. Yeah, and that was my experience in Homa Bay. What did I not like about my experience in high school? Really, but there's something I need to tell you. How I utilized my time. For us, when we reached Form 4, I think study time was very limited. I mean, eating time was very limited and sleeping time was very limited. So most of the time, actually, you could serve the last in the dining hall. The reason was because let's say it's lunchtime and Homa Bay is next to the lake, so it is very hot. Let's say it is a Monday, and being a Monday, you know how busy Mondays are almost in all sectors in Kenya. So you go to the dining hall and you get hot porridge and very, 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 very hot githeri. And you want to eat it in less than 5 minutes and go back to class because there's a mathematics quiz that is waiting for you to do. So me, I ended up not even eating that lunch. I would just have it, take it to my library, office, and I would come and eat it at games time. I don't know whether that affected my digestion or whatever it is, but I gave priority to my studies. I knew that after school there would be a lot of food to eat and a lot of food to cook. And by the way, I was not the way you see me today. I grew thin, slender, because I denied myself pleasure because I needed to put what was important first. Yeah, so that was it. I'm grateful to all the teachers who also helped build us, to becoming the successful men we are today and ready to change this country and the world for the better. One day I think we'll organize and come and just say gratitude to the whole fraternity of Homa Bay High School. So that is my high school story. The next stories I think will be now after high school. What next? There's a lot that now happens after high school. How I became a teacher, P1 teacher, being paid a salary of 2,200 shillings per month. How I joined for year 1 in campus, what was the experience, year 2, what happened, year 3, year 4, up to where I am today, and what the plans are for the future. So stay tuned, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't, share this video to other people who would like to be inspired. Comment, let me know what you think. Ask me questions if you think I need to answer. Yeah, and let's be ready to change the world for the better. Until next time, see you.